Most people have very fragile self-esteem because their self-esteem is built on external factors. So the way that most people function is that they build their self-esteem on variables that they see in the external world. So things like how people perceive you, how people treat you, success in your career, your appearance, achieving even your goals that you set for yourself, making sure that you're doing what you said you would do, etc. And so this is all well and good, but if you actually want non-variable self-esteem, if you want like an unshakable self-esteem, what needs to happen is you need to develop unconditional self-regard. So this is a fairly old concept developed by Carl Rogers, but essentially it means that you need to have like unconditional love for yourself. And this might sound like a strange concept to some people, but in my perspective and from my work, I've realized that this is actually a human need. So humans need to feel unconditionally loved in order to be psychologically well. And most people did not receive this in their childhood. So typically the way that our society works is we do have a conditional love. So you get praise and you get admiration and you get love for achieving certain things, behaving in a certain way, looking a certain way. And because of this, we tend to have a lot of variability in our self-esteem. So some days we feel great about ourselves, some days we feel awful. And obviously, in order to feel better and in order to achieve more, it would be more helpful to have non-variable self-esteem, to have kind of unshakable self-esteem. And the way to achieve this is to develop that unconditional love for the self. And so that means that I feel good about myself. I feel like I'm worthy even though, and I'm valuable even when I'm not achieving things, even when I'm not meeting all those standards that I set for myself. Like I am valuable and worthy and lovable even when like I'm not doing anything like at all. And so this is obviously a very difficult thing to develop in our minds because we've been taught the exact opposite in our culture and in our society. And I truly think that this is one of the reasons we have so many psychological problems, is because I don't think human beings are actually meant to think this way. And so this obviously is a long process in developing that unconditional self-regard to undo all of the thinking patterns that were instilled onto you. But it is possible. It is something that you can achieve. And once you do achieve it, you'll have this like core sense of self and this unshakable foundation that is really psychologically healthy, and it just feels so much better. And you might be thinking like, well, if I develop that, won't I become lazy and not do anything? Actually, the research indicates the opposite. So people that have a high level of self-compassion typically are more motivated and achieve their goals with higher adherence and quicker. And so if you're someone that wants to get a lot done, that you want to achieve things in your life, that's not going to go away just because you develop an unconditional self-regard. That's actually going to be more sustainable because you're going to kind of stop with that self-sabotage that we do to ourselves when we kind of like self-harm psychologically. Like we think very critically about ourselves, and then we have to we get burnt out. We have to go into our like little recovery cave in order to shut out the world for a little while in order to feel better. Like we do all kinds of little behaviors that slow us down because we feel so bad about ourselves. And so if this is something that you're interested in, I encourage you to schedule an intro session. We can talk more about this. I can offer you some tips on how to start developing this. Obviously, it's a process, but I think personally it's a process that's very much worth doing, because if you are able to engage in this process and you're able to develop this unconditional self-regard, you will just feel so much better. You'll get so much more done, and you'll just experience life in a much more stable and much more satisfying way.